All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon, and in this video, we are going to be in the 147-pound division where we are going to debunk some things that have been said by a lot of Terence Crawford fans as to who is actually picking Terence Crawford to win, and one of them apparently is not Floyd Mayweather Sr. But in a very strange interview, and one that I hope I'm wrong about, Floyd Mayweather Sr. seems to not know who Terence Crawford is. Let's talk about that in this video. All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon, and in this video, we're going to talk about the big fight coming up, but specifically some picks that have been made for who will win the Errol Spence Jr. and Terence Crawford fight. And I'm doing this video for two reasons. One is to point out that there's a whole lot of people putting words in people's mouths, specifically those of Floyd Mayweather Jr.'s father, Floyd Mayweather Sr., about who he believes is going to win this fight between Errol Spence and Terence Crawford. And also to talk a little bit about the importance of fights like this taking place for the fighters themselves, because it was a little bit disturbing to listen to Floyd Mayweather Sr. talk about the fight. Now, before I get into those two things, let me welcome you back to the channel. If you are new to the channel, please accept my invitation to hit that subscribe button if you like the content. If you don't, hit the thumbs down. If you don't feel like subscribing, just hit the like button. And I also want to thank everybody that has been a big supporter of the channel over the years that we've been here. Thank you guys so much. In this particular video, I am going to thank one of my favorite subscribers, Terry Schmoot out there in California, and my guy Steph Brown out there in California. I hope the sun is shining on you today. Thank you guys for consistently being such a great part of the channel with the questions and the conversations that we have. But let's get into this. First and foremost, big fight taking place, as we know, between Errol Spence Jr. and Terence Crawford for the undisputed title of the world at welterweight. And there are a lot of people, obviously, they're going to be making picks for the fight. This video I'm going to do, and I'm going to tell you unabashedly, I am making these videos about that fight because I absolutely positively hope that you will watch that fight, that you will pay for that fight, that you will watch that fight and enjoy that fight, regardless of who it is that you think will win, regardless of who it is that you want to win. It is something for us real, true fans of boxing that really think of this sport as our favorite sport. We look primarily to boxing, more so than basketball, more so than football, right? Us lifelong fans of the sport. It is important to support big fights like that, like this, especially in these times where there's so many network factors at play that would rather prevent these type of fights from happening so that they can feed us little who care about it fights, every, 4 or 5, 5 or 6 times a year on a budget, versus these two guys coming together to take a fight where there's a lot on the line as far as their reputation, a lot on the line as far as their legacy, a lot on the line as far as the championship belt, and a lot on the line as far as their worth as a fighter financially. So, and the reason that I say that is because I was listening to predictions that were made for this fight, and I ran across the Mayweather boxing channel. Shout out to the Mayweather boxing channel. And they were doing their usual thing that people do. They say, okay, who you got? They talk about, ask questions about this, that, and the other. And then they say, okay, who do you have in the Errol Spence Terence Crawford fight? And Floyd Mayweather Sr. started talking about Errol Spence Jr. and saying, hey man, Spencer, and he called him Spencer. is, is a big, strong guy, not really the best defensively. He's not like a defensive fighter, right? But, bit strong. He gets hit, right? Just started kind of describing him. And then they said, no, who do you have in the Errol Spence Jr. and Terence Crawford fight? And he said, Crawford. He's like, man, I don't know him. Now, that's pretty interesting because so many people in interviews I've never heard have said, quoting interviews that I've never heard, said that Floyd Mayweather Sr. had picked Errol Spence Jr. to beat Terence Crawford. That's what I've heard time and time again. So why didn't he say it then? You could point out and say, hey, look, man, obviously he knows who he should know. He's in boxing, who Terence Crawford is and who Errol Spence Jr. is. He clearly knows who Errol Spence Jr. is. Called him Spencer, but knew who he was, knew who the fight was, but said Crawford. Yeah, I don't know Crawford. And Jeff Mayweather's like, yeah, man, he's saying he doesn't even know Crawford. Now, what's more than likely the scenario for that? And it is, again, the reason why we should support these fights. Because if we had not supported Floyd Mayweather Jr. and all of his fights, many of his pay-per-view fights, Floyd Mayweather Sr. may be in a much more difficult situation, because I suspect that the reason that he can't pull that out is because of that his thinking is not as clear as it had been at one point in time in his life. It could be because of his age. I do believe that he's in his 70s. He's definitely well into his late 60s, maybe in his 70s. He was a professional fighter, so he definitely got hit a lot, and you can hear that. You could hear that in his speech. You've been able to hear that in his speech for decades now. However, he can live a comfortable living. He can have a comfortable life, because of the fact that his son was duly rewarded for the risks that he took in that ring, and not strung along in his career forever, fighting a bunch of difficult fights for low money, and could actually walk away at 50 years old. I mean, at 50 fights, or really walked away at 49 fights, could afford to take care of his uncle, to have that gym, to create a business where his uncle Roger can work, his father can work and train fighters. That may not have been the situation if he was not able to get rewarded the way that he was for the fights that he had. And I was very, very happy to see that if that is true, that Floyd Sr. May be, regressing a little bit, regressing in his cognitive capacities, that he is in a situation where he can still live a very a rewarding life, a life of, a respectable life, right? One where he had an honorable life, where he is respected and where he is needed, and where he is wanted, right? So that I was just really happy about seeing that. And I wanted to connect that to this Errol Spence Jr. and Terence Crawford fight, because people always ask or talk about, why don't these big fights happen? Why don't some of these big fights happen? Most of these big fights don't happen because of the money associated with it. But once you have a model and you know that people are willing to actually BYOB, which in party parlance means bring your own bottle, pay-per-view, when you are able to put something on television and people are willing to come out of their money and pay for it, for that particular fighter, then they may be willing, fighters and promoters will be more willing to take risks, to get fights where a lot of people can come and watch, and fighters can stay for a good time and not a long time, right? And that's why I think it's just not right to steal pay-per-views from these guys. You know what I mean? But anyway, that's just my take on the matter. You let me know what you think in the comment section. And with that, I'm out. Peace.